Playing your practice rounds before your tournaments is super important, and doing it the right or wrong way can gain you or lose you strokes even before the event starts. I'm going to go through a few tips on how to correctly play a practice round with a few things that help me before my tournaments. So number one, before we get out there, is practice rounds are all about information. It's not just am I throwing good or bad today, but it's about learning the course as well as you can, taking note of the greens, fairways, teeing areas, everything that you can, absorbing all of that information in kind of a short time span. You might throw a shot well, you might throw a shot poorly, and that shouldn't necessarily reflect on how you're going to play it in the tournament, but just take note of how did that feel, what was the reaction, where did you get on the fairways, everything like that. I might throw a great shot with a disc, and I might not necessarily want to throw that disc in the tournament. I might throw a bad shot with a disc, and that might be my play in the event. One shot does not decide your strategy, and you shouldn't let it get to you too much. Generally, you should not be keeping score in practice rounds, especially if you only have 1 or 2 rounds before the event. You aren't trying to set a specific score in each event. You should be taking it shot by shot, worrying about hitting your lines, making specific putts, and playing smart. There's some things you can't control once the disc leaves your hand, but you're trying to focus on all the things you can control. So don't worry about score during those practice rounds. It'll just set you up for unrealistic expectations during the round. The first thing you can do when you're prepping for your tournament is looking at the tee pads and noticing where they're lined up and what does that do to your footwork. Looking at this tee pad, it is pretty much lined up directly with the gap, but I'm going a little bit more right side. So what that does to my run up is it puts me a little bit more toward the center of the tee pad instead of the back right corner where I usually go. So this is a really easy way you can prep, and that way when you get up to your hole in the tournament, you don't even have to think about it. You just know, where are my footwork going to be? Where's my footwork going to be? What gap am I going for? What does that do to my run up? Also, if you need to start off the tee pad, check the footing. So right here, there's lots of pine cones, little rocks. Scrape those away, get yourself a good base for your first step. That way when you do run up onto the tee pad, you're not slipping on that early step. And then notice the edge. This is a pretty low edge. Some tee pads have higher ones. So that way my first step, I'm not gonna be rolling my ankle or anything like that. Now I am walking up the fairway on that same hole, the 21st hole, and it's a blind shot to the corner, and it's a very awkward corner. So what I'm doing is I'm making note of all the gaps. What does the fairway actually look like when you get up closer to the hole? What are the bigger gaps? How are they staggered? Everything like that that you can't notice from the tee. The other important thing, get up halfway, turn around. Do you notice it's more uphill or downhill than you initially noticed? What are you looking for in terms of kicks left or right? Noticing the rough, some more open patches. It's always a good idea just to swing around. Doesn't take you any extra time. Gives you a better idea of the actual layout of the hole. So I'm up to the spot. I can see the basket now. And I'm gonna turn back and see what is the actual angle of the elbow here. Look at it from a better spot. How much hyzer do I need? Am I looking to flip something up or start something flat? It just gives you a much better idea of the shot you're trying to throw. Where do you practice from during your rounds? Obviously you tee off normally on every hole, but when you're in the fairway and on the green, it's a little bit different. Let me explain. I just played hole 16 here at Shelton Springs, and my first tee shot ended up there, parked. Very good shot, but it wasn't really. I got very lucky to get through a teeny tiny little gap, slid up to about 15 feet there, tap in birdie. Easy, right? Well, during my practice rounds, I'm not going to practice from that putt. I don't care if I get a birdie during a practice round if I got lucky on the tee shot. Then I threw a few more, and when I hit my line, this is where I landed. About 25 feet here. This is where I am trying to land during my tournament round. So I'm going to practice from here, move a few feet to the right, practice from there, a few feet deep, get a few putts in on this side of the green where I'm most likely to end up. It's another good example because this is a challenging green. You'll notice it slopes down behind the basket, and then there's a canopy, so you can get a pretty low ceiling putt down there if this putt goes by the basket. So I also need to be thinking, if I have this putt in a tournament, am I running it? Where am I running it from? What situations am I running it? If I move back 5 feet, am I going to lay it up? If I'm outside the circle, what am I going to do? Think about these things during your practice round. That way, when it's game time, you have your plan ready and you don't even have to think about it. All right, I'm here at hole 21, which is going to be my final hole of the event. This is a tee time start. And playing your final hole and practicing for it is a little bit different. Number one, you need to be prepared to take different scores and how you're planning to do that. Maybe you just need a bogey to get in where you want to finish. Maybe you need a birdie, maybe you need a par. So I threw a bunch of different shots, and I'm preparing for different scores for what I might need at the final day of the event. So here's a great example. This is my tee shot for if I just needed par. This is a zone, I went with an easy zone. This is not a comfortable birdie for me, so I'm just playing this one for par, and this is what I would throw. It's a nice comfortable backhand for me. So then thinking about what my second shot would be from here, you can see that big gap up in the sky to the right. There's no OB over there. I can throw a big easy hyzer. I have nothing immediately in front of me. Would be able to pretty much jump putt up, get up and down easily for par. And here is the birdie play. So you can see I was heavily rewarded for going riskier. I have probably less than 200 feet in here, straight shot up. This is for birdie, but off the tee pad I had to throw it higher. I risk a farther kick into the rough. Bogey comes into play a lot more, certainly. Thanks so much for watching. We have a few more videos coming out about getting better, and so take a look at our channel if that interests you. Please subscribe, like, comment if you want to see anything else. Thanks.